Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On tonight's show, we'll be discussing the Qantas dispute which occurred in 2011. This involved our national airline and a number of trade unions, which resulted in our economy being placed in jeopardy and Fair Work Australia stepping in. This began when Qantas started bargaining for a new airline in Asia. Qantas and the Transport Workers Union went into industrial relation conversations about improving and extending the airline. This included further improvements in working conditions and better wages for the employees of Qantas. Here is a timeline on how these events occurred and how they were resolved. On July 11th, Qantas long-haul pilots voted to take business movement. The pilots were requested to vote on a number starting from the 5-minute walkout stoppages to 2-day walkouts. This was due to pilots' jobs being dispatched offshore. 3 days later, on the 14th, Qantas Engineers Union makes use of a minute-lengthy strike as a prison cause for a wave of greater stop work moves. The union secretary Steve Penivers revealed the union's deliberate to prolong the blanketed bargaining period. The included period became due to expire on July 21st, prompting a week of industrial action, which includes 2 proper exceeded engineers. Over 4,000 luggage handlers and floor group of workers down gear for 4 hours from 7 a.m. across the eastern seaboard as part of the dispute over pay and conditions. Transport Workers Union (TWU) countrywide secretary Tony Sheldon stated the airline had stonewalled its own staff for 9 months and decided to outsource their personal group of workers at very low rates of pay. Qantas stated that they were pressured to cancel 28 flights and postpone any other 27 flights, with another half an hour due to the movement. With more than 6,000 passengers affected, this occurred on the 20th of September. On the 23rd of September, aircraft maintenance engineers held a 1-hour strike in Melbourne, affecting 8 flights. Qantas closed its heavy maintenance centres in Brisbane and Melbourne, cancelled flights and behind schedule another 6 flights by as much as an hour, affecting 1,300 passengers. Between the 20th of October and the 25th, the Engineers Union called off all included industrial action for 3 weeks as a task to Qantas control to return to full flight schedules. It stated if all grounded Qantas planes have been not lower back inside the air, the airline should not blame the union for disruptions. Qantas warned it would ground its entire worldwide fleet if lengthy haul pilots invoked a 48-hour strike clause in a covered movement claim filled with Honest Paintings Australia. The Australian and Worldwide Pilots Affiliation stated it was not intending to interact in strike movement and it could achieve this handiest as an ultimate resort, but in its blanketed action ballot filled with truthful paintings, Australia in July, APA individuals voted overwhelmingly in favour of booking the proper to the strike up to 48 hours. On the 28th and 29th of October, CEO Alan Joyce warned the airline that he will force a close and cause a loss of hundreds of jobs if industrial action continued, following an annual company meeting in Sydney. Joyce the next day grounded the complete fleet of international flights and announced plans to fasten out staff worried within the movement. Fair Work Australia terminated business motion among Qantas and the unions at 2 a.m. after a 12-hour video hearing held in Melbourne but connected to hearings in Canberra and Sydney. It told parties they have 21 days to come back with an agreement with no industrial action during that time. Flights set to resume around 3 p.m. on the route among Sydney and Melbourne. Qantas announced it might not be lowered back to complete flying timetable until Wednesday. In the end, the airline's 1,600 engineers will obtain a 3% pay increase for the subsequent 3 years after Fair Paintings Australia signed off on a pay deal. Alan Joyce said, "This is a positive outcome that will allow Qantas to move forward with certainty and allow our customers to continue to book with confidence. The union cannot take any industrial action before 2015. Qantas has vowed to address workplace exchange as part of its plea for emergency government assist amid a political combat over whether or not union needs are putting groups at danger. In conclusion, Qantas shouldn't have locked out their employees as this had a major effect on the economy. This dispute panned out over a year and caused many disruptions throughout the time this occurred. Money and Qantas customers were severely affected due to the fact that Alan Joyce cancelled flights and locked out employees for 3 days, and in return he came to an agreement with the unions that allowed the employees a 3% pay increase along with a large payout to Mr. Joyce. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week with a new discussion.